In history, there are queens remembered for beauty, wisdom, or power, but none are as mysterious as Queen Balqis, the woman mentioned in the Qur'an, whose story changed the course of nations. Some say she was no ordinary queen. Rumors whispered she was half human, half jinn. Could that be true? And what really happened when she met Prophet Sulayman, Solomon, the prophet who commanded armies of men, beasts, and unseen jinn? This story doesn't begin with a queen. It begins with a small bird, a bird that carried a message powerful enough to change a kingdom. Prophet Sulayman ruled unlike any other king. Allah had given him dominion not only over humans, but also animals, the winds, and the mysterious jinn. His army was unlike any the world had ever seen. Human soldiers marched with swords and shields. Beasts like lions and tigers roared in formation. Birds flew in squadrons above, acting as scouts. And the jinn, mighty beings invisible to the human eye, moved like shadows, striking fear into hearts. Even the winds carried Sulayman wherever he wished to go. And among his army was a tiny but crucial spy, the hoopoe bird known as Hudhud. One day, as Sulayman inspected his forces, he noticed Hudhud missing. To a prophet, disobedience was no small matter. "Where is Hudhud?" Sulayman asked. Whispers spread among the soldiers. Some feared for the bird, because Sulayman was known to punish negligence. But Hudhud was not idle. He was far away, in the kingdom of Sheba, Saba, spying on a queen who would soon change history. Hudhud perched on a tree overlooking a vast city. Palaces of marble shone in the sunlight, and soldiers marched in brilliant armor. The people gathered in a grand square, bowing not toward the heavens, but toward the sun. Then she appeared, the Queen of Sheba, Balqis. Draped in royal garments, crowned in jewels, she stepped down from her throne and led her people in sun worship. Hudhud was shocked. A queen blessed with power and beauty, yet she bows to the creation instead of the creator. He wasted no time, flying back to Sulayman with this news. When Hudhud returned, trembling with fear and exhaustion, he confessed his absence. "My master, I have seen what others have not. I found a kingdom led by a woman. She has everything, yet she and her people worship the sun, deceived by Shaitan." Sulayman listened carefully. Then he replied, "We must see if this is true. Take this letter to her." The letter was sealed with the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Its message was direct: "Do not exalt yourselves above me, but come to me in submission to Allah." Hudhud carried it across deserts and mountains until he reached Balqis's palace. Slipping into her chamber, he dropped the letter upon her bed. When the queen awoke and read it, her heart raced. A letter from a king she had never met, appearing in her private chambers without messenger or guard. This was no ordinary power. Balqis summoned her council. "Advisors, I have received a letter from Sulayman, son of Dawood. He commands me to submit to Allah. What is your counsel?" Her generals responded with pride. "We are strong. Let us go to war." But Balqis was wise. When kings attack, they devastate lands and humiliate their people. "I will not rush into bloodshed. Instead, we will send gifts, treasures of gold and jewels. Let us test him to see if he is truly a prophet or merely a king seeking wealth." When the caravan of gifts arrived, Sulayman ordered his army to assemble, not just men, but beasts, jinn, and birds. The messengers' eyes widened in terror. They saw lions standing beside men, invisible forces moving weapons, and winds carrying banners across the sky. Compared to this kingdom, the treasures of Sheba seemed like pebbles beside mountains. Sulayman rejected the gifts. "Do you think you can tempt me with wealth? What Allah has given me is far greater. Return to your queen." If she resists, I will march upon her with a force she cannot withstand." The messengers returned trembling and told Bilqis everything they had seen. She understood the truth. This was no ordinary king. Bilqis decided, "I will go to him myself." But Sulayman prepared for her arrival. "Who among you can bring me her throne before she arrives?" A mighty jinn replied, "I can bring it before you rise from your seat." But a man of knowledge, gifted by Allah, said, "I can bring it before your glance returns to you." And in the blink of an eye, the magnificent throne of Sheba appeared before Sulayman. He smiled, humbled by the power of Allah. Then he ordered the throne to be altered slightly to test whether Bilqis would recognize it. Sulayman then commanded a palace to be built above water, with a floor of crystal-clear glass. When Bilqis arrived, escorted by her entourage, she was overwhelmed. Never had she seen such majesty, armies of every kind, wealth surpassing imagination, and a palace that seemed to float on water. As she stepped toward the glass floor, she thought it was a pool. Lifting her dress slightly to avoid the water, her legs were revealed. Why this test? According to folklore, whispers spread that Bilqis might not be fully human, that she carried the blood of jinn, betrayed by unusual features. Sulayman wished to know the truth, and when he saw that her legs were like any human's, he knew she was no jinn, but a woman of flesh and blood. Finally, Sulayman showed her the throne. "Is this your throne?" Bilqis looked closely. Something about it was changed, but she could not deny the truth. "It seems it is. My throne." Her heart trembled. How could her throne have traveled across deserts and seas before she herself arrived? How could a palace of glass float above water? It was clear. Sulayman's power came not from sorcery or worldly kingship, but from the Lord of the worlds. In that moment, pride slipped away from Bilqis's heart. She saw the futility of worshipping the sun, a created object, compared to worshipping the creator of all. She turned to Sulayman and said with humility, "My lord, indeed I have wronged myself, and I submit with Sulayman to Allah, Lord of the worlds." With her conversion, her people followed. A kingdom that once bowed to the sun now bowed only to Allah. And it had all begun with a small bird, the faithful Hudhud, who carried a message that changed history. Now, what about the claim that Queen Balqis was half-jinn? The Qur'an itself makes no such statement. Most Islamic scholars say she was fully human, a wise and just ruler. The rumors about jinn origins came later, spread by folklore and stories from other traditions. Some say the jinn themselves spread these lies, hoping Sulayman would not marry her and produce a son who could rule over them. In truth, the Qur'an honors Bilqis for her wisdom, humility, and eventual faith. Her story teaches that true greatness does not lie in wealth, pride, or worldly power, but in submission to Allah. From a bird's whisper to a prophet's wisdom, from a queen's pride to her surrender, this story reminds us of the power of faith and humility. What do you think? Was Bilqis truly the most mysterious queen in history, or simply a wise woman whose heart turned toward truth? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories from history, faith, and the unseen.